Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I am John Salemi. I am with U.S. Bank, and I also serve as the board chair for the Milwaukee Urban League. I would like to call this meeting to order. This is Milwaukee Urban League's annual report out. It's a virtual meeting in 2021. And welcome, everyone. We are excited to share our story with all of our stakeholders today. And I think that you'll find that we have a really nice presentation in store for everyone. In addition, I look forward to one of our conversations with a partner of ours at Johnson Controls, Grady Crosby. I'm sure that everyone will enjoy that too as well. A very dynamic speaker. I've had the chance to hear him many times before. But I thought I would start out the meeting with a quote from Dr. King. So if we could move to the next slide. So as you can see here, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. And it felt right to start here as the Urban League reflects on our contribution and our impact during these challenging times. We're proud of what we have accomplished together, and impacts and outcomes are what drives us and are really driving us in our mission in 2021. So with that, I'd like to get the meeting started, and I would like to turn it over to my fellow longtime board member and friend, Carrie Freeberg. She's the Vice President of Community Engagement at Frederick the Medical College of Wisconsin, and also our board secretary. So Carrie, I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Good afternoon. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm delighted to serve as the board secretary for the Milwaukee Urban League. And I have the honor today to introduce my esteemed colleagues who serve on the Urban League board with me. So I'm going to start with John Salemi, who you have met. He's the chair of our board, and John is with U.S. Bank. Clyde Tinnen is with, he's a partner with Foley and Lardner. Nafisa Burdine is with Manpower Group. And Chandra Rogers is with Associated Bank. Other board members are Margaret Bailey Stewart with Charter Communications, Daniel Bly with, I say We Energies, but WEC Energy Group, Michelle Brown, who is the president of our Young Professionals, Shannon Burns with Harley Davidson Motor Company, Patty Kadorin, a community volunteer, Amy Hanneman with Northwestern Mutual, Daryl Hudson with UPS, Mary Beth Kingston with Advocate Aurora Health, Larry Leverts with Johnson Controls, Henry Moore with Great Lakes Coca-Cola, Ernest Nicholas with Rockwell Automation, Deirdre Rochelle Purifoy with Briggs & Stratton, Guillermo Reyes with GE Healthcare, Cynthia Stokes Murray with the GILB, which is an auxiliary, Jim Strack with Enterprise Holdings, Yolan Sulker with Molson Coors Beverage Company, and Sui Wong, who is with Baird. As Dr. Hall says, this is her high energy, high performing board of directors, and we all welcome you to this annual meeting and to hear all the great things that are happening at the Urban League. With that, I'm gonna take this right back to John.
All right, well, thank you, Carrie. And we do have a very diverse and great board, and appreciate all the service that everyone has done so far, especially in really difficult times. It's now my pleasure and honor to introduce a longtime colleague and friend, Dr. Eve Hall. She is our president and CEO of the Milwaukee Urban League. And Dr. Hall, would love to turn it over to you for your president's report.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Board of Directors, and also to my staff, because you are the reason that we've been able to move forward as an urban league. I do not do this by myself. So thank you for all that you do. So welcome everyone to our annual meeting 2021. I will begin with the first slide. I would like to just go through with you what has happened this year. First of all, we're excited and proud to know that we were able to continue moving forward during such a rough time of COVID-19 and still have some impact on our community. So I would like to begin with employment and empowerment, if I could have my list, please. So we continued again in assisting people with employment, but of course we couldn't do it in person. It had to be via phone and email, and we were fairly successful in connecting. Next. Job fairs. We used to have job fairs right here at the Urban League. So guess what? We turned them into virtual job fairs. So we had our own job fair, and we also joined others in terms of job fairs to still keep people connected to job opportunities. Next. Driver's permit classes. Many people have participated in our permit classes. We are always overflowing when they are here in person. Again, we were able to continue via virtual classes, and I will tell you the numbers never change. So we were very excited to maintain those numbers. Next. Credit repair workshop for consumers and clients. We were able to work through during COVID-19 some of the challenges that individuals were experiencing even more because of COVID-19. Next. We also worked with some of our small business owners in terms of credit recovery as well during this period of time. And next. We contracted with the city of Milwaukee with their Restart 2.0 initiative for small businesses, which was an initiative to help small businesses reopen. So we were proud to be a part of those efforts. Next. Education and outreach. So before COVID, we were fortunate enough to have over 200 students at the Tommy G. Thompson Youth Center at State Fair Park with our STEAM Summit. And of course, that's John and myself at the summit. You don't see the students, they were actually in their workshops at the time, but that was such an exciting day, and thank God we were able to have that summit before COVID hit. Next. We were still able to award laptops to our students. Normally, everyone, we would have our youth summit, which is held at Harley-Davidson. And at that point, we award our students with laptops. Of course, we could not have the summit. So we came up with a drive-by laptop award ceremony. So families came in their cars, had their face masks on, received their awards, and took pictures. So we were able to continue that. Next. And then we had our Munch and Learn. Again, our students weren't in school, so we could not interact with them. However, my team was able to create education and food packets, which were given to families that also contained some of the face masks and other things that were needed during COVID. And then our cold and winter clothing distribution, we partnered and were able to provide winter clothing to families in some of our schools. Our advocacy efforts. We were able to continue with our community roundtables, which were very, very exciting. Did them virtually and had good attendance to our community roundtables. We've been very focused on expanding our platform in terms of having discussions on the critical issues impacting our community. And then we were very, very active in the city around voter education and registration. In fact, we were one of a number of cities identified by the National Urban League to receive some support so that we could have a major role in voter education and registration. And I'm proud to report that, because of our efforts and in working with others, voter outturn, as you know, was remarkable. Next. And then we had our first State of Black America MKE, over 300 participants, and just a remarkable lineup of 9 business and community leaders in which we addressed a number of critical issues. And we will have a part 2 in a couple of months. This year also was special for us because we were able to engage with new partners in this community. Johnson Controls, they've already been on our board for years, but they went to another level in an almost $2 million partnership, and you will hear from Grady later on in our program, and supporting both the Milwaukee Urban League and the National Urban League. Kohl's came on board to support us. Stella and Chewy's came on board to support us. Target, Thrivent. We've taken another level of participation and engagement with the National Urban League. So we are much more involved with them on various initiatives of which they are awarded and then provide sub-grants to the various affiliates like ourselves. So going forward in 2021, again, we were fortunate in 2020 to still have an impact on this community and to attract new partners. And we just look forward to our continued engagement with partners and new partners as we go forward. But what do we look at in 2021? So number one, we will be focused on our capacity building so that we really have impact and we can measure our outcomes even more, and that the outcomes involve truly empowering those that we serve. And then, as I mentioned earlier, expanding our advocacy platforms. All the issues that we are facing in this community are so critical, but we have to all come together at the table. And we want to continue to identify different roles that we can play to continue the conversation. But not only that, talk and work together for solutions. Catalyzing economic development. We're looking at the areas surrounding the Milwaukee Urban League and just other areas in the city in which maybe we can expand and look at innovation centers and ways to expand upon our technology and our training. So that will be another focus on how we become more involved in that area. And then finally, in our building, and I know many of you that are on this call have been in our facility, we are actually upgrading our facility. So the next time that you come in our building, you will notice new paint, new carpets. We're also enhancing our building so that it will be safe as we begin to return to some level of normalcy, where we will have clients coming back in our buildings in a managed way, in a scheduled way, and also our team coming back on a rotation level. I mentioned earlier to you that the National Urban League and Milwaukee Urban League are continuing to grow together. And most recently, we had 2 new initiatives of which we are part of the Urban League. One is Project Ready Mentor Program. We are one of 7 cities who will participate in identifying 50 students every year for 5 years, for a total of 250 students, 250,000 over 5 years. We look to collaborate with other groups and with the school district in identifying students and helping them with retention and being able to just plan for a quality of life. Secondly, just recently, we were invited to be a part of a 25-city Project Wellness, Vaccine Equity, Hesitancy, and Uptake, which is funded by CDC. The focus of this particular initiative is to help educate the community about the importance of the vaccine, to continue to look at equity and health access issues, to educate even around just immunization in general. We are looking forward to this particular partnership, which will involve us creating a coalition and just having a platform in which we can collaborate and promote a healthy community. And last but not least, what everyone always looks forward to is the Black and White Ball, in which we bring this city together. And I will tell you, this last year, we had over 600, almost 700 people that attended our virtual ball. We had a lot of compliments, and it really was a lot of fun, although we did miss that in-person connection. But we are going to have a ball again this year. We're looking at a hybrid model, so there will be people who can attend in person, but also those who can attend virtually. But this was something exciting in which we were able to end the year with, I think, a great level of excitement. And just in conversations with many people, they said they had fun dressing up and dancing in their living rooms safely. So thank you to those who participated with the Black and White Ball. So with that, that really completes my report, and we can now turn it over to Chandra Rogers, who is our treasurer and serves as the Senior Vice President for Community Affairs and Community Reinvestment Act Officer for Associated Bank. Chandra?
Thank you, Dr. Hall, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. I'm honored to serve as the board treasurer for the Milwaukee Urban League. As we all know, 2020 was very busy, and 2021 proves to be just as eventful. Dr. Hall and the Milwaukee Urban League team have been doing a great job ensuring that we continue to engage and be present in the community while being cognizant of our expenses. Next slide, please. We ended the year with total assets of $2.9 million, which includes $1 million in cash. Next slide, please. At the end of 2020, our net assets without donor restrictions were at $1.9 million, and our net assets with donor restrictions was at $153,000, resulting in $2.9 million in total liabilities and net assets. Next slide, please. We ended 2020 with revenue of $2.1 million. Our gross revenue came mostly from special events, government grants, and the grants and contributions from the United Way. $650,000 of our revenue in 2020 specifically came from contributions. And we would like to thank our partners that continue to support the Milwaukee Urban League, as well as our new partners for all of your contributions in 2020. Last year was very challenging because of social injustices and the pandemic. And because of your help, we were able, and we continue to be able to provide programmatic and advocacy support to the city of Milwaukee. Due to the Black and White Ball being virtual last year, we incurred less expenses, and thus our overall revenue from the ball increased. We netted $603,000 in revenue, which is $31,000 more than our net revenue from the ball last year, because again, our expenses were less due to it being virtual. Our expenses in 2020 were $1.8 million. The majority of our expenses went toward program services, and other expenses were related to fundraising and development and administration. So this leaves a change in net assets of $336,000, with net assets at the end of the year being $2.1 million. The Milwaukee Urban League has responsibly managed expenses during the pandemic, and in 2020 did receive an SBA payroll protection program loan of $177,000. Some of our funders also allowed greater flexibility with the use of restricted grant funds, and this gesture has been invaluable to us during this time. As we go forth throughout the rest of the year, we continue to be responsible and sustainable with financial management while focusing on advocacy and programming to serve our clients and the city of Milwaukee. So once again, we thank you for all of your support and continued partnership. I would now like to introduce our first Vice Chair, Clyde Tenen.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for joining us all. We're really proud of all the accomplishments that we had at the Urban League this year, despite all the challenges. And I'm very humbled to serve on this board of directors. I don't mean humbled in the sense like you hear sports stars say at the end of the game after they score 50 points. I mean truly humbled. It's a very special group of people that we have together that collaborate and work with our fantastic staff to really make great outcomes for this city. One of those great people is a new transplant to Milwaukee, and his name is Jim Strack. Jim is a VP and general manager at Enterprise Holdings here for Wisconsin. And Jim joined the board recently and really just sort of hit the ground running. In the midst of everything going on, when we were looking for people to step up to really volunteer for the great black and white ball virtually that we talked about earlier today, Jim raised his hand, and again, he didn't raise his hand sort of timidly. He jumped right in it, sort of 2 feet. He held the board accountable. He was after each of us, each meeting, to make sure that we were making our calls to our contacts, using that opportunity to reach out to folks that maybe we hadn't seen that much with everything going on with the COVID, to really make sure that we could have an impactful year. And he knocked it out the park. He really did a fantastic job. And so some of you who may be familiar with football know that there's a player named Santana Moss who once said, big time players make big time plays in big time games. Well, Jim Strack is a big time player. And we're super proud of the accomplishments that we had this year. And again, largely in part to his fantastic efforts. So we do believe here when we have the chance to let people, smell the roses while they can still smell them. And we want to really to celebrate Jim and his efforts this year as a new board member. Jim?
I think you're on mute, Jim.
The old mute button. You would think at this point I'd be used to it. I'm flattered. What a great surprise. I can't thank you enough for the recognition. It's been very interesting. I've told the story a few times about meeting Dr. Hall when I was visiting here about a year and a half ago from Germany, getting ready to take on my role here at Enterprise Holdings. And she's a master recruiter because she locked me in night one. And the reward that I get out of participating with this board. And you guys do the really hard work as far as I'm concerned. And this is just to be able to contribute the way I've been able to contribute and to use me and my strengths is fantastic. So I really appreciate the recognition, but it's heartfelt. When I saw the agenda, I took pictures. I've sent it to fellow employees and my wife and family, and everybody's really proud of me as well. So thank you. I guess that's all I can really say is thank you for the opportunity to serve on the board. It has truly been rewarding for me, especially in such a crazy time and such crazy issues out there. And I feel in my heart that we're really doing the right things. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jim. I'd like to congratulate you too as well. And thank you. I know how hard that you worked last year, and you did it all despite having to deal with everything that was going on. And you just really kind of just gave of yourself. And so it's great here to recognize that effort, and thank you again. I don't think you would have signed up for it had you known there was going to be a pandemic and everything that we were facing, but it turns out that you're absolutely most perfect one for that. I'd also like to thank Carrie Freeberg again and Fredert and the Medical College for really stepping up and being our presenting sponsor for the Black and White Ball during the pandemic. I thought it just turned out wonderful, and thank you for your investment, which makes this so great to be able to now announce what we have going on in 2021. So I'd love to introduce our next presenting sponsor, which we already have in place, ready to make an investment in Milwaukee, in our community. So I'm going to introduce our friends at Rockwell Automation and our fellow board member and SVP, Ernest Nichols. Ernest?
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. I really do. Look, I appreciate everybody for joining first, but I am a very, very proud board member of the Milwaukee Urban League. I've been on the board for the past 3 years and continue to be excited about it. I truly do. I'm also a member of Rockwell Automation Foundation Board. And so I'm really thankful for just this opportunity to make a few remarks as to why Rockwell makes commitments to the Urban League, but also why we continue to make commitments to Milwaukee in general. You know, at Rockwell, we take, I'd say, the role of being a corporate citizen very seriously. You know, given, I'd say, the multitude of challenges we've had in our community, what's occurred over the past year, you know, we acknowledge that being a corporate citizen, taking a stance as a corporate citizen, sharing our sentiment is really important to the well-being of the community. So we honestly believe that philanthropic efforts, you know, they can change what happens to us on a day-to-day basis. They can change what it means for us in our community. As Rockwell, you know, when we think about how we direct our charitable resources, our focus starts on developing skills in the workforce. You know, and I'd say a workforce that reflects the diversity of our community. You know, we do that by interjecting ourselves in STEM education. We think about building a pipeline of students that want to take on STEM careers. We also focus on the skills gap and just the need for skilled workers across all industries. You know, we're acknowledging that the skills gap that exists now is greater than it's ever been. You know, we pride ourselves on being a manufacturer. We pride ourselves on being a supplier of technology to manufacturers. So addressing the skills gap, it's going to be vital. It's vital to us. It's vital to the continued growth of people within our community. And that's why, honestly, we support any organization that focuses on, I'd say, inequity across our community. And an example of that is the Milwaukee Urban League. We can advance, please. We honestly feel our responsibility is to support our communities. So we're really, really excited about being the presenting sponsor for this year's Black and White Ball. We truly and honestly are. We can move to the next slide. You know, I'm really pleased to share with everybody that this fall, our chairman and CEO, my boss, Blake Moret, is going to co-chair the Black and White Ball, along with Cecilia Gore, who's the executive director for the Brewers Community Foundation. You know, as Dr. Hall said earlier, you know, I'm optimistic, and I hope that we'll be able to convene safely in person, and I look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Ernest. I see a lot of clapping going on. And now I'd like to introduce Larry, another great partner of ours at Johnson Controls. And so obviously we would love to get this conversation started with Grady, but first we wanted to introduce our board member, Larry.
Thank you, John. And I am truly excited to introduce my colleague, Grady Crosby. I don't have any slides. I don't want to talk about where Grady comes from. I want to talk about who Grady is. And I'm so excited today to have the opportunity to share a little bit about who he is with you. And sometimes when I say I'm excited to introduce people, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I'm not exaggerating at all in this case. And I just want to tell two quick stories about Grady. Last year, at the end of May, early June, in the aftermath of the George Floyd homicide in Minneapolis, I was in a very, very tough, dark place personally. I have two sons who were asking me some really, really tough questions. I was working at home in a new environment, and there were lots of questions that I was grappling with personally and professionally that I didn't really even know how to answer for myself. And one of those questions was, how does where I work show up around these issues? You know, I want to be proud of where I work and what we stand for. And so I reached out to Grady and I said, hey, Grady, are we going to say anything about this? Are we going to come forward with a statement about what's going on in the world? And he said, we're already there, working on something right now. And it just made me really proud that Grady was out in front along with other colleagues at Johnson Controls, working with our CEO to really address these issues and come out with a full-throated repudiation of what we were seeing in society and a call to arms to rectify some of what we were seeing. And Grady called me several months ago and asked me about the Milwaukee Urban League and the opportunities that we had for an investment there, and would I be supportive of a significant investment. And what he said to me that day still resonates. And he said, now is not the time for thoughts and prayers. Now is the time for action. And Johnson Controls really needs to step up. And Grady was the principal author of the $2 million grant that Dr. Hall just mentioned a short while ago, that is going to get people educated, that is going to address infrastructural inequities, that is going to address the need to educate children in a new way, in a new world. And so I will also share a quote that's been on my mind a lot in the past year, and that is, crisis does not create character, it reveals it. And this crisis has certainly revealed the character of Johnson Controls, and I'm so proud that Grady Crosby was there as a steward of that character. And it is my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce the Chief Diversity Officer and Vice President for Public Affairs and my friend, Grady Crosby.
Wow, thanks so much, Larry. That's just outstanding. I appreciate that. You know, between you and my friend Ernest over there at Rockwell, we might as well just wrap this meeting up, because you guys have already said it all. But I certainly appreciate Larry and his leadership at the Urban League and his leadership within Johnson Controls as well. As Larry said, my name is Grady Crosby. I know a lot of people that are already on this call and this virtual meeting by perusing the participants. So happy to be in your presence again this afternoon. This is really not a keynote address that I'm about to share with you. I just really want to kind of talk to you. When Dr. Hall called me and asked if I would do this at the Milwaukee Urban League's annual meeting, I was enthusiastically just ready to go and be able to share a word or two, because she told me, I just want you to talk about why you give. Why does Johnson Controls do what you all do in the community for the Urban League and for the myriad of other organizations that you support? And so I really appreciated Dr. Hall extending that invitation. And I really appreciated your board for affirming that as well and inviting me to be able to present to you today. And we're just going to talk a little bit about why we give, why Johnson Controls does what it does, not for the sake of really pumping up Johnson Controls or anything like that, but really at the end of the day, I want to inspire those that are on the call that are representing your own concentric circle of concern, your companies that are being represented, whether you've affiliated with the Milwaukee Urban League or you're affiliating with other nonprofits in this space. I want to encourage you to continue to keep your hand to the plow, so to speak, and keep your sleeves rolled up, and let's continue to join in this work. So I have a few slides I want to run through with you real quick on why we give, and the first slide just talks about, from a definitional standpoint, what corporate social responsibility is all about. Ernest already kind of summed it up, but it's a self-regulating business model that helps companies be socially accountable. That might be, if I put a dime in a meter and park here for a second, that might be one of the issues with corporate social responsibility, is that it is a self-regulating business model. We may need to talk and have some advocacy with the SEC and other institutions of influence around the fact that this may be a space that for companies to be able to have the privileges that they actually owe a duty. We see that in the banking industry. We see that in some other industries, but generally not for most companies. And I always tell people, the corporate citizen is an odd fellow, if you will, because the corporate citizen has a number of unique rights and responsibilities that ordinary citizens like you and I just don't have. The corporate citizen lives in perpetuity. You and I don't. We are mere mortal human beings. The corporate citizen pays taxes at a different rate than the ordinary average citizen. The corporate citizen can't be arrested and hauled off to jail and lose its freedom or liberty. You and I certainly can be. Hey, the corporate citizen doesn't even have to sign up for jury duty. Isn't that something else? And so if the corporate citizen has all of these unique rights and privileges, then certainly there should be a corresponding responsibility. And that's kind of what CSR is all about, marrying up those rights and privileges with the responsibility of being a positive contributor to society. At Johnson Controls, we always talk about, our mantra of zero harm, that, we won't harm people, won't harm the environment. But, with that also comes our responsibility, and it comes with our obligation to actually do some good. So we can talk about the Socratic Oath in terms of doing no harm. We also need to recognize that a company's responsibility to a community is to leave it a little bit better than that which it was found, to actually do some good. And so the era and time that we're living in right now are certainly unique because it provides some very unique opportunities to fulfill our obligation with regard to corporate social responsibility. So if I say that today feels different than a year ago, you certainly would understand that that's really a severe understatement. Because we've had protests before, we've had societal controversies before, we've even had consequential elections in the past, but perhaps never amid such a backdrop of vivid public displays of racially motivated brutality, social injustice, and racial inequities, all undeterred and seemingly exacerbated within a pandemic. If that's not a formula for you, I don't know what is. And so that's why you see here on this slide, we talk about exposed in 2020. What was exposed were the results coming from the fault lines that have always been there, but really were ignored. And we see the catastrophic results that have happened when we have ignored the fault line. And the response to the storm of social injustice and negative health and financial disproportionate impacts upon communities of color has been equally striking and rare, and it has triggered an instantaneous social justice response of demonstrations and repudiation. And what's unique about it, it's not just repudiation within the US, but it's been repudiation from around the world. Yet, if you go to the next slide, one of the most unusual and unprecedented occurrences for me was really the critical mass of public pronouncements throughout the business community that Black Lives Matter. And so 2020 was almost the year of commitments. And we had such a statement at Johnson Controls unequivocally saying that Black lives matter. And our CEO, George Oliver, even went as far as saying that you can't even understand that all lives matter until you first understand that Black lives matter. And so I submit to you that even in this era of commitments and pronouncements, that now is really the time to evolve from what should be these self-evident mantras around social justice. Larry tells a great story about the fact that Black Lives Matter should be a really self-evident statement, but I can't get into that right now, Larry, because I'm running out of time here. We really need to evolve from those to really measurable, sustainable activities and initiatives that actually result in not only bridging the gap, but closing the gap from a number of these social disparities that exist. So some organizations, are really doing that and taking some real action, if you will. And so I wanted to just share with you for a second here and see how we can replicate success in this space at companies and within nonprofits, because I believe that the lessons to be learned here are fairly clear. There are more lessons than the few points that I'm going to share with you, but I just want to share with you a few that I think will help us continue to really make some true progress here. Not just talk. The young people say all the time, don't just talk about it, be about it. And so for us to really be about it and not just figure out how many zeros before the decimal point we can write in a check. Let's figure out how we can really create some impactful change. And so one of the first things I think is pretty self-evident. We've seen it here in this meeting already in terms of some of the leadership that's already been demonstrated, but the CEO is going to be a driver. And I think it's one of the most prominent drivers. In every case where we've seen some real progress in advancing a company's corporate citizenship, if you will, with the board and within the staff and with regard to the organization's values and strategy, the CEO is going to be the driver. I tell George Oliver, our CEO, all the time, I may be the chief diversity officer, but you are really the chief diversity officer. I may be the president of Johnson Controls Foundation, but you are really leading our philanthropic strategies. And so the companies that are not quite getting it done, one of the things that we need to look at is what's going on in the C-suite. Secondly, if you go to the next slide, because we can't dwell on any of these things, the enormity of the message is only supplanted by the brevity of time for which we have to get through here and keep the Urban League on time. But as a further winning strategy in this space, in terms of determining why we give and why you should think about incorporating areas of corporate social responsibility and corporate citizenship into your business model. One of the ways that makes it successful is for the organization to begin with a vision of their greater potential. I talked a little bit about the values of a company, and at Johnson Controls, we certainly have 5 guiding values and principles, and one of them is to be purpose-led. Because what we find is that people don't just want to come to a place of employment to make a dollar and get a paycheck. People want to make a difference. People want to be impactful in what they're doing. And so now that we are now working virtually and people are working around their coffee tables and they're in the living rooms, and there's such integration between work life. We used to talk about work-life balance. Now to keep it straight, we almost have to talk about work-life integration and how we kind of keep things straight in our lives, to have people dedicate so much on the job. And then to have them have to find a total separate space, place, and time to go and do something good in the community is asking a lot of them. So companies ought to create a vision of that organization's greater potential. You know, Johnson Controls, we're all about creating safe, smart, and sustainable places for people to live, work, play, and stay. And so we translated that into our community involvement, into our philanthropy, creating safe, smart, and sustainable communities, all within the context of healthy people, healthy places, and a healthy planet. And so when we begin to merge those two, we begin to see how the philanthropic strategy actually supports and helps the business strategy as well. And so that's why I say is with that clarity that individuals should be able to see how they add to the ultimate achievement of something that's purposeful, how they move with purpose, that this is not a compliance play, that this is really something that is transformative, and it's a part of something that really supports the overall achievement of the business strategy. Because if it's a compliance initiative, and Larry knows this, Larry is our chief ethics officer and chief compliance officer at Johnson Controls. But if it's a compliance initiative, it's probably one of 200 things that we have going on in the company at any particular time. It's a program, and I've heard Jonas talk about this as well at Manpower. He talks about if it's a program, it's maybe one of 50 programs or things that are being conducted or being implemented. But if it's part of the fundamental business strategy, then there's going to be some accountability through leadership to get it done. Number 3, value some community expertise. Recognize, we know that you're in this to be profitable, to be able to share the great products and services that you have for your customer base. And so on the community side, you may not know it all. A lot of people, again, see this community work or community engagement as something that, you know, may be just as easy as stroking the pen to the check. But if you really want to be impactful, it's much more, and it can be very complex. And it's partners like the Milwaukee Urban League, who've been doing this for over 100 years, addressing racial inequities and social justice matters, and helping people learn how to present themselves well for a job and fill out an application and be able to secure affordable housing and help transform neighborhoods. Is that type of really deep digging work that we needed to find a subject matter expert who could bring some required experience and expertise that was necessary for us to see the changes that we really wanted to see with the investment that we were making. So we value our community partners who are experts in the areas in which they serve. And we have so many across our communities who are doing the hard work. And I don't even want to start naming them because I can't name them all. And I know that I'm on the Urban League's dime, but you know who they are. They're the ones who are out there doing the heavy lifting, providing the heavy touch on a daily basis. Realize that measurement and reporting are essential. And this is what I just talked about a second ago in terms of the accountability, because this is where it comes from. Determining what to measure is going to drive strategies and incentives as well. And with that measurement, of course, comes the accountability and reporting, because we all know people talk about what gets measured gets done, but what gets done gets improved, and what gets improved gets replicated, and what gets replicated has potential to transform not only the market, but has the potential to transform, in this case, a community. It has the potential to actually change the trajectory of lives of the people that you are touching. And this is, again, connecting us to our purpose as to why we want to make and why it's our duty to make the communities in which we use resources better than that which we even found them. And lastly, on the last slide, the last point I wanted to make here, all right, you don't move slide. I got slides over here myself, and say acting with the new urgency for public accountability for CSR. If this is the moment of a lifetime, we've seen so much attention being placed on the ESG space, environmental, social, and governance, and so many investors and stakeholders are trying to see whether or not a company not only is doing well in terms of being able to get its products and services to the market, but in terms of doing that, are also treating their people equitably and treating the communities in which they are working out of with dignity and respect, and in a way that makes them look like a good neighbor, which they should be as a fellow citizen. And there's so much attention, more attention than I've ever seen before. And so if this is an opportunity of a lifetime, then we have to take advantage of it during the lifetime of this opportunity, because it won't last forever. Sooner or later, people will go on with life, so to speak, because history repeats itself and it seems to move in cycles. And so in the wake of a series of brutal killings by police of Black Americans in 2020, communities around the country rose up to challenge systemic racism and injustice in the US. And so that momentum needs to carry on in our work, because now we have an opportunity for change. And just today, I don't know all the details of what happened in Atlanta, but it certainly seemed from the face of it to be some, racially motivated actions that were going on there as well. And so if we're going to change the way people act and react in society, then it starts with us engaging with organizations that are connected to the people within those communities. It starts by adding some hope. It starts by adding some opportunity. It starts by allowing some kids to see some opportunities that they may have never seen before, because of what they see on a daily basis. We say all the time, the kids can't be what they can't see. We need to provide some examples of kids to see some Larry Leverets who are leading the legal functions in their companies, and Ernest Nicholas who are leading entire global supply chains for large manufacturing companies like Rockwell Automation. They need to see the ability to not only work within these companies, but to be able to obtain and be at the highest levels of these companies as well. So what does real progress look like? That's a question that you and I will continue to answer as we go along here in 2021. That's a question that we're going to be asking the Milwaukee Urban League to continue to address as we continue to shepherd the investment that we've made with them. We ask that you as a community help us all hold each other to be accountable to these results. What I'll end with is the fact that companies continue to grow value by solving big problems. Right now, we have an opportunity to put some new ingenuity to some old problems. Companies that even if you don't have a global footprint, whatever footprint you have, the vast resources that you have through financial, human, technological resources. We always say that at Johnson Controls, our real value to our nonprofits is not with the check. It's our people, the talent that we share. People like Larry that are serving on the board, people that are coming from all over the companies that are represented with the Urban League's board, that have shared their talent, because the evidence is clear that employees and consumers expect and support companies that engage productively in finding innovative solutions. And so investors recognize that companies that solve problems grow value. So at the end of the day, that's why a strong CSR strategy helps your company be more successful. Because companies that are successful understand the importance of partnering with nonprofits, government, and other companies to create and implement effective solutions. Frederick Douglass once said that it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. That's why we partner with the Urban League, because we know that they are providing the foundational support to build communities and build communities strong so that we don't have to continue to repair broken people, broken lives, broken hopes, and broken dreams. So I salute you, Urban League. I salute you, Dr. Hall, and the work that you're doing. And you know that you have a partner in Johnson Controls in this work going forward. Thank you. Larry? Or John, I don't know who goes next.
I think an applause should go next, but unfortunately everything's virtual and we can't do that. I know we're going to be taking some questions if we still have some time, but that real progress just rings so true to me. So who's doing the question and answers, Tangela?
I've got them. We do have one question from Gregory Williams. He asked, with all the negativity focused on Milwaukee being ranked continuously as the worst place for Blacks in America, are there efforts to improve this image by engaging those who put Milwaukee in the spotlight?
Let me just say real briefly as a quick answer to that question is that yes, that work continues to go on all the time. The issue though is that we are such a sensationalist society that people don't typically want to hear about the good stuff. What really makes the news is that Milwaukee is the worst place for a Black man to live. Is more likely for a Black man to be incarcerated than receive a college degree. That's the sensationalism that unfortunately people thrive on. I see all the time in social media where someone will say, well, today I did a good deed. I helped the little old lady across the street. And invariably somebody will put in the comment section, how did you know she wanted to go across the street? Who gave you the authority to usher her across? Maybe she wanted, I mean, you really can't win in this situation, but we know we have some people in Milwaukee that are doing some great work with our kids. You go from, and I'll name a couple of examples of the work that's been done over at the Running Rebels, the work that's been done even with urban ecology, the work that's being done at the Urban League, the work that's being done through United Way initiatives. You can name them, and all of this work, the work with Milwaukee United and the Milwaukee Fellows program. You name it. We have some great examples that if people really wanted to see some of the good things, we could lift them up. But at the same time, we have some issues. But and that's why corporate social responsibility is so personal to me, because I know that all of this didn't occur overnight. And I know no one company or no one initiative is going to change it all. And it's going to take everybody continuing to do their part. And we gotta get at this, one block at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one person at a time. And that's why I'm asking one company at a time. Evaluate what you're doing and see how you can contribute to the solution and not be a part of the issues that tend to plague Milwaukee. All right, anything else?
That was the last question, John.
That's the last question you wanted me to answer. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Tangela, for that. And again, I want to thank Dr. Hall. I want to thank your visionary board as well for allowing me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, that
There is
Oh,
one
well,
more.
one more. I'm not sure what
No,
happened
no,
there.
I was just saying thank you. Great message. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And thank you again, Grady, for your trust in us, for your investment in the Urban League, and just in the community as a whole. And to all the people that are with us today, I know as I'm looking at the comments that each of us on this call have a role to play to move our city and our state forward. So I challenge us to continue to work in our spheres of influence, both individually and collectively. And I think when I hear Grady's message, that's what he's really calling us to do, and kind of speak that truth to power and stand, and not to lose fight, not to lose fight. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Dr. Hall. And, the weight and significance and responsibility of making real progress, sustainable progress that Grady talked about, I don't think is lost on any of us. And, I just want to say as a board, this board got closer during the pandemic and the injustices that we continued to see. That is something that I just, I'm honored and privileged to be a part of. It's so cliche, but I just really enjoy the work that we do. And I know for us, it's all about making sure that the investments that everyone here makes and the contributions that everyone really makes here, that we actually have true impact, real progress, real sustainable change. I also want to thank Dr. Hall and her team, the directors, Sharon, Tangela, Marvin, Brandy, all the employees at the Urban League. Every company that's represented on the line here would be so jealous of their productivity and the efficiency and the amount of work that they're able to get done. You have my admiration. I watched you through the pandemic, whether it was getting the vote out, working together on a number of different initiatives. I mean, just a tremendous job in the most difficult times. Help is on the way. We know we're building capacity for you so that we can really get to the bottom of some of these issues. And I think, as you can see in our report out today, there's a passion and a commitment to get to true equity, true equality, get rid of the disparities, really have opportunity on a level playing field for everyone. And it's times like these that the Milwaukee Urban League were founded. Hard to believe over 100 years later that our role is so significant and the weight of our responsibility of what we can do can be so impactful, but yet here we are. If you look at this slide and you see together, I mean, we see the change of these two unifying hands connecting together. I think this is just hope that we can get there too. As I mentioned before, this is our purpose and our mission. If you go to the next slide, unity, we need collaboration, diversity of thought to solve today's problems and challenges. And I know that this is not lost on the Milwaukee Urban League, and it is our commitment to get there. So with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. I want to thank everyone again for joining. I hope you have a great evening, and we look forward to sharing our progress and having you join us in our mission this year. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, John.